How's it going, everybody? My name is Ragnar. I'm gonna be talking about 7 books that are on my recommendation list. I recommend these books to almost anybody that wants to get into negotiating, how to sell, how to make money, how to invest. These are the books that I recommend. All of the books will be in the description, so you can check them out there if you want to. The first book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book was published in 1936 and it goes through the history of the most successful and powerful people at the time, what principles they either created or followed to build up successful companies, how they negotiated, how they got people into their way of thinking. And this book will teach you the same principle, how to basically negotiate or convince people to your way of thinking. The second book I recommend is The Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking. This is for if you want to get into public speaking, or if you're a student and need to make presentations, or if you have a job that you need to talk to your team and convince them that your ideas are fantastic or that something is wrong, and you need to effectively convince them that what you're saying is correct, and that can be really hard. So I recommend this book. The third book I recommend is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It goes through the history of Robert's life. He's the author of the book. He had 2 fathers. One was middle class with a poor mindset, and the other one was rich, or at the time owned businesses and wasn't rich, but he had a rich mentality. He believed that owning a house was a liability, not an asset, while his actual father, the one with the poor mindset, middle class, he believed that his house was an asset. So he paid mortgage, he fixed up things just so he could sell it for a higher price later, or never. And his rich dad, who wasn't his actual dad, it was his friend's father. He had a rich mentality, and he taught Robert how to basically he taught him financial advices, how to make money, what he had to do to become rich. And his rich dad, his French father, he became one of the richest persons in Hawaii at the time. I have no idea if he's still the richest one, but at the time he became one of the richest people in Hawaii. The fourth book I recommend is The Attention Merchant. This book was written by Tim Wu. It goes through the history of advertising and how advertisers have been trying to get inside our heads for centuries. The main advertising started with The Sun and Benjamin Day. He basically went out to local businesses and asked them if they would advertise in his newspaper, The Sun, which at the time advertising didn't exist. He basically created the first mainstream advertising, and by doing that he could sell his newspaper for way lower price than any of his competitions, and that made The Sun basically one of the largest newspapers at the time. But then later on, his competitions started doing the same thing and stuff like that. Then it goes through radio advertisements and today digital advertisements. I recommend this book. It's a fascinating read. The next book is Sell It Like Serhant. I recommend this book if you want to get into sales. Ryan is a real estate agent in New York with $1 billion in property holdings, $1 billion worth of properties, and he also has a YouTube channel where he shows every building that he has for sale. It's a fantastic book if you want to learn how to get into sales and what principles you need to follow to get customers or get your product sold. The sixth book I recommend is 48 Laws of Power. This book goes through how to become more powerful. Some of the principles are pretty much you will become evil if you follow them, but it's also interesting. Just it goes through a history of how the most successful people throughout time, how they became powerful, and what principles they followed. So it's a fantastic read. The last book I recommend is Intelligent Investor. This is a book that you need to read if you want to have any money in your life, because you basically need to invest your money, because if you don't, it will be kind of hard to live in the future, because if the economy goes up and everything becomes more expensive, if you had saved up $1 million, that would be worth way less at the time. But stocks and bonds, they are always a great investment. And this book was written by Benjamin Graham. He taught Warren Buffett, the third richest man, I think, today in the world. And Benjamin Gray was Warren Buffett's teacher, and he taught him many of the lessons that are in the book. And Warren has said that he had read this book multiple times, and it's one of the most successfully sold investor book today. So I recommend it if you want to get into investing. It basically talks about that you need to buy for the future. You need to hold after you buy, because you need to find companies for low that you see value in. You need to look at the financials, and if you think that the price is good, you need to buy it and later on sell it for a higher price, basically investing. Okay, these are the 7 books that I recommend. All of the books will be in the description. Goodbye.